Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Knight, and tonight I'm going to do for you 31 different accents from around the world. Starting off with the one I'm doing right now, which is a New York accent, basically, or, you know, Jersey or whatever, right? So we're going to move on from this New York accent, which is credible. Hopefully you thought I was from New York when you heard me talking, right? So we're going to move from that. I'm going to go into a Californian accent. Now, the thing about California and typically associated with LA is, like, you know, it's kind of more nasal. Automatically the sound goes up in the top of the mouth and the nose, and maybe you sound a little bit homosexual, possibly. No disrespect to anybody intended. Now we can move from California to go into a Midwest accent. Now, I've never been to anywhere in the South or the West of the States, so I don't know whether this is a Utah, Mississippi, Alabama, or in fact an accent from anywhere in New York, in the United States. I don't even have a clue, but for one thing's for sure, for me, to my ear, it sounds like a typical cowboy accent, so we're going to call it cowboy for now. Then you go from that one overall into Boston. Now Boston, again, it's like kind of like a New York and a Californian. It's like, but it's more nasal. Car, park the car. Like Irish American, like Rhode Island. You ever see that show Brotherhood? Right. Then you can go in from this into a Mexican accent, you know, like Latin American, from Cuba, possibly from Colombia, or from Mexico. You know, this is one accent. I think to myself, you know, if I'm doing this accent, I can be a character for a casting director, but I don't know. Then you can go from this into Brazil. You know, I have friends from Brazil, from Rio, do a lot of jiu-jitsu, tough guys from Brazil. Definitely some guys I know. This is a good Brazilian accent, you know. And then to go from that into like a completely different accent right over the world, and to move over into Glasgow. Now, a Glasgow accent is one of my favourite accents. You can get right involved in the character, you know, like the Glaswegians. Actually, a good actor I know, Brad Moore, said to me the other day that accents are about your facial expressions and how it changes your face is connected. Now we can move from Glasgow and go over into an Edinburgh accent. Now Edinburgh is it's more musical, it's softer, it's like a bit more, you know, less aggressive, but it's still a Scottish accent. And then one can move straight from that into a an RP accent, which is typically associated with the royal family, or perhaps with aristocracy and classical British drama. Then we can go into that, into one of my, I'm always losing my accents here, actually. I'm going back into Glasgow for some reason. We'll go into Irish now, and the Southern Irish accent. I have a lot of friends over from Dublin, and I always remember this time that I was in a bar in Dublin with a few lads, and you know, they were all talking about accents and that, and I said to them, listen, here I am, I'm in your backyard, and I'm doing your accent, and I'm giving you a good run for your money. And they couldn't really say a great thing about it. It was a good accent. I put in a good performance. I'd like to think that's one of my favourites and one of my strongest accents to do. Now the sign of a good accent, man, and I always say this, is somebody who can change from a Southern Irish accent, move up into a Northern Irish accent. If you can change from Dublin and go up into Belfast, rather like changing from 3rd gear to 5th gear in a car, you know, that's quite a hard thing to do to me. What about you? You know, to go into that accent, it's different, you know, it's different, but it's good. I mean, it's not one of my favourites, but still, it's a good accent to do. Then we'll go into actually one of my very favourite accents, and you're lot from places like America will never have heard this accent your whole life, but for you people based in the UK, this is a Geordie accent. Actually, it's one of the most musical and fun accents to do. I really like doing a Geordie accent. And then into my other accent, which is actually probably my favourite accent out of all the accents I do, which is a Scouse accent. Do you know what I mean? So that all you Scousers out there, you know who you are. It's a great accent to do, the Scouse accent. I'd like to think again that if I was in Liverpool, like most Scousers wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Do you know what I mean? Then we go into a different accent, which is one of my hardest accents, which is Welsh. I'm actually struggle with this accent to do this one, so I'm going to move on quickly. But then you've got West Country, and there's something about this accent, I don't know what it is. Whenever you do this accent, you feel like you're stupid, you know? Anybody with this accent sounds a bit stupid. Now again, that could be somewhere in Bristol, Gloucester, Somerset in the UK, and you wouldn't know the difference. And then I go into another accent. Somebody asked me about this one the other night, and I felt really stupid doing it. It's like a Brummer, it's like a Birmingham, like that, don't even know, Black Country, Dudley. You know, it's one of those accents for me, you sound stupid. And that's no disrespect intended for anybody. And then you go into one of the accents, mate, it's like, do you know what I mean? It's one of the accents I've known all my life. I've grown up most of my life in London. That is the giveaway, yeah? Like, I'm a Londoner, because I've lived there a lot of my life. I'd say, really, this is really and truly, this is like a London accent. Could be a general accent anywhere, do you know what I mean? It could be, for example, north, south, east, west of the river, whatever. Sorry, north or south of the river, east or west London. But that's a Cockney accent. Then we go into, like, you get me, bruv, like there's this whole new thing, yeah, like in the UK now, where like all the youth and them, they're all talking like this, you get me, like I don't want to get chived up or nothing, but like a lot of these people, like I call this one a deacon, yeah, it's in like in Payne Hobbits, like Adam Deacon, you get me. And then you go into, you got a Manchester accent, like Manchester's one of my favourite accents. Again, another accent I really like doing. People in Manchester are dead genuine, I find. But yeah, Manchester accent there for you. And then we'll go into a Yorkshire accent, which is rather similar to Manchester but flatter, you know, more that's like a Doncaster accent, that one there. Then we'd go from another, well, we can tell this accent is a little stronger than the last one I've just done. Again, feel really comfortable in this accent, which is an Australian accent. A lot of people ask me, you know, could you do a Kiwi accent? And I say, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? You know, Kiwi is too similar to Australian for me to try and do both. Then we go into one of my, not my so stronger accents, which is a South African accent. Again, with a bit of practice and some time to prepare, you can find that this accent is coming stronger. But it's one of my harder accents to do, definitely. But I've been to South Africa, I spent a lot of time there, and there's not that many people in South Africa that actually talk like this, you know. There's people that talk like this, they have the first accent of Afrikaans, and they talk English as a second accent. So that's the kind of accent for South Africa. Then we go into, again, one of my favorite accents, which is the French accent. Again, it's so strong and musical. Sometimes one of the key things about accents is to make sure that you relax to as much as possible to become the character, you know. The French accent for me is something, again, I don't speak French, but I think it's possible to pass as a French person, you know. I like to go into Italian, you know, molto bene. To speak a little bit of Italian is very important. You know, you meet me, my name is Francesco, and I'm from Roma. You don't know my name is not Francesco. Then we go from this one, Italian, which is a favorite from mine, to go to Roma, into the German accent. And you can perhaps sound like, what is the name of this man in Inglourious Bastards? This guy, yeah, the German accent again, not one of my strongest accents, but a good one, yeah. Then we go into Dutch. Dutch is like a German, but it's different. It's more curved, and it has a little bit of an American twang to it, but that's a Dutch accent. You meet a lot of people from Holland, from Amsterdam, they're going to talk to you like that. And then you're going to go from the Dutch into the Spanish accent, to do a typical Castilian accent from Madrid or from Barcelona. This accent is something is different from Mexican, for example, because it's more flat. You know, it's not so musical as the Latin American accent. It's more flat. Then you can go into a Greek accent. The Greek guy need the cut, the end of the words. You know, the Greek accent, like the kebab guy, the cut the kebab, or the night. This might be Greek or it might be Turkish. You know, this is one of these accents. Then we can go in from this accent into one of the hardest accents that I do, which is a Jamaican accent. You know, they have them accents that, for real, you feel stupid when you do this accent. You just try to recreate the sound to get that sound real for the people that you're doing the accent for. But again, you have to have some big balls to do this accent, you know. And then you go into African accent, and again this is an African accent which is, I think, Nigerian, but I don't know. I have been to South Africa and I've been to Zimbabwe, but for me this is a Nigerian accent, definitely a Nigerian accent. Then you can go from Nigerian into one of the most, I think, one of the most, the accents where the face stays totally in the same place. And again, thanks to Brad for this one. This is a Russian accent, maybe Serbian, Croatian, from Eastern Europe. I don't have exact specific location for the accent, but it's accent from somewhere in these places. Then you go from this into one of the most craziest accents that is possible for me to do, which is an Indian accent. I lived some time in West London, in Hounslow, and also in Slough. And when I was there, I was speaking of this accent, you know. This is one of the craziest accents, because of course you're never going to have any practical use for it when you're being an actor, but especially when you're, you know, like me, but never mind. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I think that came to 31 accents. Challenges out there, please see if you can beat me.